Hi everyone, in today's video I am going to be giving you my impressions of these Sennelier half pans which I got in the mail today. I'm very excited because I've never used Sennelier before. I've ordered 3 colors that I thought would be comparable with paints that I already have, namely indigo, warm grey and quinacridone gold. I thought warm grey looked a lot like Daniel Smith's buff titanium. Indigo naturally is indigo. And then quinacridone gold, I have Daniel Smith quinacridone deep gold. I have Daniel Smith quinacridone gold. So I'm just going to go ahead and open them up and then I'll get to swatching. Pretty fancy. Sennelier, I've heard, contains a lot more honey than other brands, or at least this is the impression that I've been given through seeing other reviews online. So I'm expecting these to be quite transparent, possibly drying with a high shine due to the honey. And I'm hoping that they will compare favorably because I need these colors in my half pan palette. So right off the bat, I like how well these have been wrapped. I mean, it's a little bit of a pain to unwrap them, but at least you know the paint that you get is preserved. Moisture level inside has been kept stable thanks to the packaging. No one has fiddled with it in transit. So on here they have the light fastness, the pigment code, all that information. So here we go. The quote-unquote buff titanium. Good job, I've just torn the paper. It's fine, I can look it all up. Everything is online, luckily. Oh, and it's quite nice, they print the code and the brand on the side. That's useful because I'm usually writing that out myself. Thanks, Sennelier, for that useful addition. So just looking at the dry cakes, the quinacridone gold looks promising. This definitely looks like it's going to be darker and maybe a little bit more red than the buff titanium. The indigo, as always, is a dark horse. Can't tell until I actually paint with it. So let me get to swatching. Right, first up I'm going to paint a swatch of the Daniel Smith indigo. You'll see I've drawn blocks here with the names and the pigment codes. It's always interesting to see how different brands approach different standardized colors. You'd think if you're buying indigo, it's always indigo and it's always going to look the same, but that's really not the case, as different brands use different pigments and different ratios of pigments to achieve a similar effect. Naturally, everybody who owns a paint brand has their own ideal indigo or their own ideal quinacridone gold, and then the paint they manufacture follows suit. As you can see, this is a very nice, rich, vibrant color from Daniel Smith. I've come to expect this of them. It's why they're one of my favorite paint brands and why I own so many of them. Very nice. As you can see, the pigments in this paint are PB60 and PBK6, which is pigment blue, I think, and pigment black. Right, now Cotman has a different formula. As you can see, they have PBK7, PB29 and PB15. Just giving my brush a good rinse. A lot of gum arabic coming out in this tube, so it has separated a little, so I'm just gonna clean that off my brush because that's not gonna give me a realistic show of color. Sometimes when paints lie around for very long, especially when it's a tube you've never used before, the binder sometimes separates out a little bit, and that's why sometimes when you squeeze the tube, a whole bunch of gum arabic, that clear solution, comes out the top. Doesn't mean your paint's gone off. You should be fine if you just get rid of that bit of gum arabic and then get to the paint. Excuse me for bumping the camera, this tripod. Okay, so next up, Cotman indigo. Right off the bat, I can already see that the Cotman indigo is a lot more green toned than the Daniel Smith. It's a very nice color. It's a little bit closer to teal than indigo though. I've come to know indigo as closer to the Daniel Smith one, which is more on the red and blue side as opposed to the blue and green side like this one. Overall, not a bad paint, but Cotman is a student grade paint, so I would say don't use for commissions. I would say use the Cotmans for studies and for field journals and stuff like that. But if you have a paying customer and they want a painting that's going to last a long time, stick to professional grade paints. Next up is the Sennelier halfpan. Right, I'm very excited to see how this is going to look. Wow, that's very green. This is closer to phthalo blue to me than indigo. But the color is very vibrant and beautiful. Very interesting. The color lifts off the pan quite nicely. It's very easy to wet, very easy to work with. Let me add some water here. Wow. We've gone from bluest to greenest. Let me just grab some phthalo blue to show you what I mean. Here we have a Schminke phthalo blue to compare with the Sennelier indigo. I'm certain the phthalo blue will be more vibrant, but, well, not vibrant, but just more, well, yes, actually, more vibrant. This is pretty intense. You can see the color is a little bit closer to the Sennelier indigo than the Cotman or the Daniel Smith. This is why I left some space underneath these blocks so that I can paint some other things if I feel the need to compare them here. Okay, yes, so the phthalo blue dries up to be lighter. Very interesting how the Sennelier has dulled down a little as it's dried. Let me lift this up so you guys can have a closer look. There's the Daniel Smith indigo, which is practically dry by now. Then we have the Cotman indigo, which is still busy drying. Finally the Sennelier and the phthalo blue from Schminke. So, that was quite unexpected for an indigo. I don't hate it, it's just not exactly what I would expect from a paint labeled indigo. It's more, like I said, on the teal side, even more so than the Cotman. It's almost like the Sennelier is a mix of the Daniel Smith and the phthalo blue. Let's have a look. Phthalo blue pigment is usually PB15. I suspect it's the same across the brands. Yes. Here I've got some phthalo turquoise, which is PB15 and PG36. And there is PB15 in the Sennelier indigo, which means there is some phthalo blue in this. And also in the Cotman, PB15. Very interesting. But overall, I'm glad to have this color to add to my halfpan palette. Now for the quinacridones. First up is the Daniel Smith quinacridone deep gold, which is, it's the same pigment as the quinacridone gold, but I believe the deep gold probably has more of the PO48 in it than the regular quin gold. They have also changed their formula because they have run out of the original quinacridone gold pigment, which I have a tube of it. I believe this might be the tube. PO49, yes, I believe that's what they used to use, but they have now run out of their lifetime quote-unquote supply of it and have made a substitute, and the colors are quite close. If you haven't worked with the original formula, I don't think you really notice a difference, but there are some die-hard fans out there who are very sad at the loss of their original PO49 quinacridone gold. But I was very lucky and got a 15mm tube of the original pigment quite by accident. I was busy with a commission and new to using Daniel Smith, so I wasn't aware of the pigment situation, so I ordered this 15mm tube because I thought it would work out more cost effective, and it did. And it ended up being one of the very last tubes of PO49 quin gold out there, so I consider myself quite lucky in that sense. It's a beautiful color, lovely for painting autumn scenes, leaves, fields, pretty much anything. Now for the regular quin gold. As you can see, it looks quite similar coming straight out of the tube, but when you wash it out, This one is more yellow than the deep gold. I'm just adding some more water so that the paint can have a bit of an adventure on the page as it dries. That's one of the most fun parts about watercolor to me, is the unpredictability of it. You can try your best to ask it nicely to do what you want, but watercolor ultimately does what it wants. And that's kind of why I love it, because it takes a burden off of you as an artist if you know that the medium you work with is a little unpredictable. So that striving after perfection isn't such a big issue in many cases. You can just let go and let the paint dictate what it wants to do. Sennelier once again wetting down very easily. Oh, this is quite close. Wow, this is very close to the Daniel Smiths. A very nice color. I would recommend any artist to keep Quin Gold in their palette. It's just such a versatile color. As you can see, you can use it as a brown, you can use it as a yellow, you can use it as a tinting or mixing color to mix other things. I believe Daniel Smith has some convenience colors that do contain quinacridone gold. I want to say undersea green is one of them. I have one right here, undersea green, let's see. Yes, it's got quinacridone gold in it. And you can see the quinacridone gold pigments in among the green. It's a wonderful convenience color to have. You can mix your own, but like the name convenience color is self-explanatory. It's just more convenient to have them pre-mixed. Wow, I'm very impressed with the Sennelier quinacridone gold, I must say. It's a gorgeous color. Looks like it's gonna glaze beautifully. The paints are still wet, so you'll only probably see the full comparison once they're all dry. I want to say the Sennelier Quin Gold is closer to the Daniel Smith quinacridone Deep Gold rather than the regular Quin Gold. It's almost like it's a mix between the two, which I quite like. I think this is great because you can always water down a paint. If it's too strong for you, you can just water it down and get a whole range of other colors. But you can't necessarily, if it comes straight out of the tube, a little bit less pigmented than you want, there's not much you can do about that. Next up is the Daniel Smith Buff Titanium and the Warm Gray from Sennelier. Buff Titanium is quite a milky opaque color, useful for mixing into other colors if you want to sort of milkify them, quote unquote. I don't know if that's probably not anywhere near the correct term for it, but if you want to add a chalky element to your paint, I guess would be a better way to put it. It's also very nice for painting. I used it a lot to paint bark on trees, to do some background painting. It's just a nice little, I don't know, it's like an all-rounder. You can use it for adding some dullness to shade. You can use it for just on its own. It's a warm, smoky color that's very versatile. I think I've used this to do some monkeys. Might have been an elephant in the mix there somewhere. Just a really nice color. Underrated in my opinion. Right, now the Sennelier definitely looks to be more red. Yes, right off the bat I can see it's a similar chalkiness. I would say even more opaque. This is also a beautiful color. I'm very happy that I purchased this because I don't really see it in the halfpan sets online. Very opaque, as you can see on the line here. Let's add some more water. This is not the fanciest paper that I'm using, mostly because I'm not sure how many of these swatch comparisons I'll be doing. I have big Bockingfords that I cut down to size. I might end up just cutting down a couple of those to do some more of these swatching comparison pages. Generally, it's good to test out paints on high quality paper so that you can see what they're going to do if you're actually going to be using them practically for commissions, which you're only supposed to really use high quality papers and paints to do those so that your customer will have something that will last them a long time. But just for playing, this is fine. But I do think I'm probably going to redo this experiment on proper paper at some point, or at least a mid-range paper. This is a 100% non-cotton paper. This is just a regular old wood pulp paper, which doesn't last very long in the grand scheme of things. As you can see, the indigos have dried a bit more now. The green and the indigo from the Sennelier brand coming through quite strongly. The Quin Golds are busy drying. Getting there, you can see the Sennelier Quin Gold even washed out nicely into an even color. It didn't pool like this one, but that might just be down to the luck of the draw, so to speak. If the paper doesn't buckle in a specific way, it won't pool in necessarily the way that you expect. You can see there's a massive difference between the Sennelier Warm Grey and the Daniel Smith Buff Titanium, but I'm definitely not angry about it. It's very nice. I actually really dig this color, and I can't wait to start using it for commissions. Very cool. Thanks for joining me for this little mini swatch and first impressions. Generally, I am pleased with the Senneliers that I got. I would have liked the indigo to look more like the Daniel Smith one, because this is my mental image of what an indigo is. If I reach for a tube that says indigo, this is what I'm hoping for. This is more like a turquoise or a teal or a, well, I guess, yes, a phthalo of some kind. The color is nice though. I really like how vibrant they are. They do have a strange kind of granulating look though, but that might also just be the paper. That's another reason to test on different papers so you can see if the granulation on the paint is actually the paint or if it's the paper texture playing tricks on your eyes. I think I would definitely invest in more Sennelier. If this is the kind of vibrancy I'm going to get from all of the tubes, I'm quite pleased with my purchase and will be investing in future. So thanks for joining me in this video where I swatched these three colors, my first impressions of Sennelier. Quite exciting, to me anyway. I hope to see you guys for the next video. Please like and subscribe if you feel so inclined. I'd greatly appreciate it. Go and have a fantastic day. Thanks. So thanks for joining me on this video. No, on this video? For this video? I'm gonna have to sip tea and think about that. Oh god, my tea's gone cold.